I'm Nathan,
I'm Samuel.
and we're the Spiritual Statesmen, episode 6.
Yeah,
Right?
been a while.
It's been a month, maybe more than a month, right?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, my man.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Alright, so today we're talking about the criminal system. More like the justice system.
Yeah, the
in
criminal
America.
justice system in America. It is, like every topic we do.
It's controversial.
Jinx. But yeah, I personally, Samuel has more of a education in this type of thing because he wants to be a lawyer when he gets older. So I kind of want to work in that area. I'm not too sure yet. But Samuel, what do you think about it? Because I get a lot of arguments from both sides saying, one, the criminal justice system is good the way it is. America is fair. The other one is America is corrupt. America is racist, inherently racist in their justice system, even though it's not really, racism isn't really as prevalent as it was back then. So what do you think?
And I feel like we both have a very blessed background, so we can't speak from experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when I think about racism in the justice system, it's more so that there's a lot of African American offenders that are being put in jail a lot more than other races.
Okay.
I think at least that's the image of racism.
African American and I would say Hispanic too.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's the whole image of the racism aspect of the justice system. And that's the argument for the unfair part on the racism side.
Okay.
And I feel like sometimes, no, I don't want to bring like numbers into it, but I do think that sometimes this racism can be either inflated or deflated.
No, I know what you mean. Like I know what you mean when it comes to that. But many people are quick to yell racism, racism, racism for putting most of the the bigger population of blacks and Hispanics in jail. That's quick. People are quick to yell racism, but they don't look at the culture side of it. You know what I mean? 50%, right? 50% of black people and 50% of African Americans who are, they're 13% of the population, but 50% of them commit the homicide in the country, right? But that's not you can't really use that that can be used both ways. That can be used as as a means to forward racism, right? Saying, okay, they're the problem. Or, like I said, look at the culture, look at the background. Many people, a very high percentage of black and Hispanic, their families are fatherless. They don't have no fathers. To understand that, you need to understand the raising birth rates that that the impoverished communities have. That it can be a whole rabbit hole, dude, and we can talk about that soon. But what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of the times when we talk about any type of racism, I think there's not a very clear definition.
Okay.
Almost in the sense of I don't want to be sensitive, but whenever somebody, black, Hispanic, any other race that's not predominantly white, I just sneeze.
Bless you.
I'm gonna restart that part. I think when we talk about racism,
Don't restart that part.
no, just my 2 seconds.
Just don't cut it out. You're fine.
Okay. I think when we talk about this type of racism, that the definition isn't really set, mainly because when people initially go to jail or when people initially get prosecuted, right? Whether it's black, Hispanic, anybody, I think just the fact that they're being prosecuted sometimes gives you a reason to just scream racism.
Okay.
And I feel like that's not entirely correct.
Yeah.
Mainly because people do crimes. It's not like there's no crime in the world. People commit crimes, and if that happens and you happen to be a race of color, that's not racism.
Now, though, like I said before, with the 50%, 13%, there is a reason why these minorities are committing more crimes than the majority.
And I think it's because of their families.
It's because of the family.
Because a lot of them are single parent homes.
Yes, dude, single parent, fatherless parent, right? Just has the mother raising them. And we know, and we talked about this in past videos, that if you don't have a strong father figure, then the whole family is susceptible to crumbling.
And it's not even just family, it's the environment that they're able to grow up in.
Well, yeah, because family's everywhere, dude. You have a family, I have a family.
Yeah.
So once the family in every person, in every household is broken like that, or most of them are broken, you're going to have a majority of one like a majority of the minority committing these crimes.
Yeah, so when you have those types of families and then you put them into these environments where they just see crime everywhere.
Yes.
You know? And like obviously we can talk about like, oh, the hood or like the bad areas of any city. I feel like there's a big difference between having a fatherless home or a motherless home, just a single parent home, compared to just a single parent home along with a bad environment.
Yeah.
And I feel like a bad environment is one of the bigger causes, along with family, because that's where the situation leads them.
So it's a cycle. What you're saying is a cycle. Like you have.
Yeah.
So the cycle, like one would ask, like how would the cycle be broken then?
The cycle can only be broken with those children actively trying to change themselves. And I think that's almost unfair to them.
Yeah, no, you're right, dude. And that's the problem with the world, right? The world is unfair.
Yeah.
Sin is unfair.
Because we can't expect the kids who are going through all of this crap to change themselves for the better.
I think it starts also with our school system. I think the school system is very flawed because, right, remember we learned about this in the 50s and 60s. They took God out of the school. Engel versus Vital. That Supreme Court case, right, when they talked about, or I don't know if that was about the school, but I could be wrong.
The black armbands.
Yes. And also taking the Bible out of the school, prayer out of the school, right? Yeah. Even today at my old high school, not ours, the one before that, Edwanda, dude, they would get angry if you prayed before a game. Like I would pray before my basketball games, and people would get heated. Like the coach would be like, "Hey man, what are you doing? Like you're not supposed to do that. Like how is that? How is that even possible?"
They've changed it from like you're allowed to express whatever religion to almost limited religion.
Yeah, and that is a direct violation of the First Amendment. Like,
yeah,
we know this, but that's a whole different story in itself. But I digress. Like talking about taking God out of schools, right? Think about it. You take God out of schools, those kids grow up godless. Those kids grow up godless. They live in a godless society. They commit godless sins and crimes, and then they, have kids, and those kids. Same thing, same over and over again. School system's broken. Planned Parenthood wants to put their organization in your city, right? Abortion, right? It's like a cycle, and it's scary, dude. Like it's literally demonic.
Yeah, and I think that this aspect, or like this environment that people grow up in, like the criminal justice system is almost always involved in your family. Whether it's that, or whether it's like DFS, or whether it's like the government trying to take your kids away, or any of the stereotypical things that we always hear about. I think this is the part where we have to question: is the government involved enough, or are they too involved?
Yeah, well, that's a Democrat versus Republican question.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
pretty much what the debate is. But
yeah.
I feel like that when you involve the government, there's got to be a reason.
Oh yeah, dude. But that's in anything. Right? If you involve the government.
But I'm saying, like, sometimes because there is one reason, they go back to it over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
I think that there needs to be a repeated reason or a new reason to continue to harp on that situation.
For example, the Green New Deal by FDR, right? I mean, it was catastrophic, right? The Great Depression. But that kept the government in our economy, in our free market economy, for the rest of the United States till today.
Yeah.
So, like, even then, the government has overstepped its boundaries, and they've also overstepped that in, like you said.
Yeah.
When it comes to the children, when it comes to the school, and when it comes to the criminal justice system, that's another argument, And
I think that's one aspect, but I want to move on to a different aspect of, like, the bad stuff in the criminal justice system. What are your thoughts on the concept of having a jury?
I think it's needed, right? That even back when our founding fathers founded this country, there was the jury. It was the three. It was Congress, it was presidency, and it was the jury. Like there was a reason why those three were the first three talked about in the articles of the Constitution.
So why do you think we don't have a jury in the Supreme Court?
I think because the Supreme Court is to remain unbiased as possible, and I think that when you have the unbiasedness, I don't know if that's a word, in the Supreme Court, right? There's really no need for a jury because why would you have a jury? Yeah. I don't know.
This is me kind of playing bad guy, but so I just kind of want to expand on your thoughts. Wouldn't having the same 9 justices with the same 9 brains, and usually they don't serve one case; they serve multiple cases. wouldn't having this one same group for at least a few cases, wouldn't that be even more bias? Because it's the same thoughts for every case.
Well, that's the thing, though, Samuel. I believe personally that the Supreme Court is biased. They're to remain unbiased. They're supposed to be unbiased.
Yes.
But the Supreme Court, like everything, Samuel, is biased.
Yes.
When you look at the jury back in the 60s and 70s, what were they? Mostly old white men.
Yes.
Criminalizing these black people, right? I don't know if you read Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. It was a book where, there was a lawyer back in the 90s where he was trying to help kids out of death row. Kids get saved out of death row, but he met an older black man named Walter, and he was wrongly accused, but Walter was going to go, bless you.
Not bad.
He was going to die. He was going to die, be put on death row because of the jury. There were old white men from that city where he committed the crime supposedly. Like, that's how it was back in the day. So when you talk about juries being unbiased, right, you have to look at that in a deeper sense. Like, who is the jury? Are they picked at random? Is it from the same area? Like, even that, Samuel, can be biased, right? And that's the dangerous part, and that's the problem with humanity, with human society. You know what I mean? So even if you put a jury in the Supreme Court, right, you don't know if they're going to be biased or not. It could be, unless it's random. There has to be a whole different process. But I think the Supreme Court now, Samuel, isn't really the problem because they have made good decisions on both sides, right? They nullified Roe v. Wade recently, which is, it's good for us, right? But they also came up with Roe v. Wade and passed that decades ago.
Yeah, so, I don't know, here's kind of my opinion. Like, I don't know, I think when you bring up a jury, I'm not talking about the Supreme Court, I'm talking about local courts, state courts. Having a jury, I feel like, do you think there should be... Now, I know they say that there's like a training where you gotta listen to whatever, but in reality, do you think that this type of training, or do you think that there should be a legitimate, like, at least explanation of what's happening in courts? Because I feel like a lot of times some people go to jury duty and they don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah. Dude, 100%. And so you're asking me, do I think the training should be more rigorous when it comes to people doing jury duty?
Yeah, or at least limiting it. Now, I know this is like technically a right and duty for citizens.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
But I'm almost saying, like, I feel like although you should be citizens, I don't think you should be in jury duty almost.
Yeah, well, it's the mandatory military service that we did in that debate competition.
That's kind of like my opinion of, like, I feel like now everyone has their right to be a citizen, but I don't think everybody has a right to go to jury duty.
You mean the obligation?
Not because, like, rights-wise, I'm just saying
like
because...
the obligation, you mean?
Yeah, like, because you don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, so that comes with more rigorous training for jury duty, but that also should beg the question that should there be a choice to go to jury duty, like you said, like if there's going to be more rigorous training, if there's going to be more money funneled into this type of thing, it would work, right? Juries... Yeah. People in the jury would be more educated on the cases. They would be more understanding. Less people would probably want to do it. But you're gonna, for example, you can have like financial compensation. You can have things like that.
No, right? I'm not even saying like financial compensation. I'm saying more so like I feel like there should be like almost a test.
Yeah.
Like a training and then a test. Not like a hard test. Like a simple test of like, do you know what's happening?
Now look at, like we talked about humans before. Humans who don't want to do something, right? They're not going to do it. Yeah. So if you have an obligation according to the federal government to be in jury duty, but you have to take a test in order to be in jury duty, what's the average human going to do? Just fail the test and not have to be in jury duty. He doesn't care.
Yeah. So that brings out the dark side, and
that's the problem. That's everybody.
Nature.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
so
most people, right? People can.
Yeah. So I feel like almost, at least when I'm thinking of like corrupt, not only racism, but I feel like sometimes what's going on behind the jury.
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude. It's like what's going on behind the millionaires, billionaires of this world. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, because there is jury selection. Yeah, attorneys can choose not to have you or to have you. But I feel like that almost brings forth...
potential for corruption.
Yeah.
It's not corruption, but it's potential for corruption. Like in anything. Like we talk about the spoil system.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on behind all 14 of those people's lives.
Yeah, dude.
And
they could be paid under the table, like you don't know.
And I'm not even saying under the table. Now I'm saying like, there's always going to be bias. There's no way you can ever remove bias. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying like, say you have a crime where somebody steals, I don't know, just something, and they have a deep connection to that either material or that store or that whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and you have no idea about it.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's. I would say, like, for example, like a man kills a kid, right?
Yeah.
For one person in the jury, it would be like, okay, like I don't have a son, I don't know how it is, I don't have a kid. The other person, if they have a kid, right, they're gonna most likely want some revenge. So like you're right, it's gonna be differing, but it's gonna be biased. But I think that's the good part, though, Samuel. I think that having those different types of people in the jury provides a necessary unbiasedness, even though one's biased. And
I think because there's so many people, it kind of limits the bias and like or more like the effect of how hard the bias can become.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like nothing's ever going to be equal. We can't ever expect.
We can try. We can try to be equal, but especially in America today, in our striving to be equal and to be just without God, we're becoming even more unequal and more unjust and more discriminatory towards other people, right? Yeah. We talk about reverse racism, right? It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. Tax the rich, all that stuff. Tax the rich, white people are trash, you know?
Yeah. So, I don't know. Besides jury and racism, what else do you think is like the biggest? Like, what are your thoughts on attorney corruption?
Attorney corruption?
Or even like judge corruption?
Judge corruption is maybe something more prevalent. Maybe attorney corruption, dude. And the DA, district attorney corruption, in a lot of these big cities, right?
All the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, not just in open court.
Well, nothing is new under the sun. Corruption in anything has been prevalent since the days of Adam. Corruption. People use corruption in the name of doing good sometimes, right? Sometimes dudes got to feed their families. But other times it's for personal gain. For example, you talk about the judge corruption. There's a big crime boss in one city and he gets tried, but the judge is paid, right? That's like corruption 101. I think that it's right. Anyone would say you got to stop it. But I think,
but how?
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like it's a hard pill to swallow to say like, okay, like I don't think you can really stop this unless you bring it to light. Like you bring everything to light. And I think if you bring it to light, right, it's gonna be bad. But at the end of the day, like the truth always prevails, bro. So if you bring the truth to light, the truth will set anyone free, even the man who is being threatened.
I think when it comes to a lot of I think you're totally right. When it comes to like the judge and when it comes to the types of corruption 101 that you're talking about, right? Like someone's paid off or someone's this, someone's that. I think when you try and talk about stopping it, I think just taking the action to stop it might also hinder a lot of the just things about the justice system. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes because you try to actively stop something, you also stop good things.
And that is the other side. That's the devil's advocate of fighting against corruption, right? Sometimes you're going to do a little bit of bad to do good.
Yeah, but my question is to what extent do you do bad?
Well, I would say, right, because in the Bible you have Peter. Peter was a very energetic type of guy. He was the disciple who would not shut up about God. That's good. The energy and the love that he had for God is good. But it was misplaced when he sliced that Roman soldier's ear off when they were trying to take Christ. Yeah. And what did Christ say to Peter? He said, "Get behind me, Satan." He didn't call Peter, he did call Peter Satan, but he didn't mean Peter was Satan. He meant
the evil behind it.
The evil behind it. Dude, your passion it's formidable, right? But you're doing evil. Yeah. Peter was just trying to save the Lord of the world.
Good intentions, bad way of doing it.
Exactly. And that could be the other way. It can be a bad way of doing it, but with I'm sorry. It can be like
a good way of doing it with bad intentions.
And that is the corrupt side. But what Peter did isn't corrupt. See, I mean, I would say it's flawed. But I think you need more.
I'd say it's human.
Human.
Yeah.
Well, even then, corrupt is human too. They're both human.
I mean, I wouldn't say this is the only reason, but I would say the distance between man and God is corruption.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
It's evil inherently.
Yes.
It's evil. It's sin. And so I feel like, we have a justice system because there is sin.
Mm-hmm.
If there wasn't sin, we wouldn't need a justice system.
Oh, dude, no, that's. I was just talking about that with.
No,
dad, bro.
No. I'm not harping on you on anything.
No,
I'm just taking from what you're saying. I feel like when it comes to any type of change in the justice system, you have to look at what's really happening. Now, I feel like there's a lot more crimes lately that involve modern technology, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's, I don't even want to say like wire fraud, but like just because we have access to all of these new technologies, right? Like credit card statements or anything with technology, or I don't even know if cyberbullying's been prominent in whatever. Probably. In the justice system. But I'm sure some type of something with any type of technology is now in the justice system. And so it begs the question, are we just allowing more crime by having technology?
Well, with any new innovation, right, there's the good side and the bad side.
Yeah.
Eli Whitney with the cotton gin, right? He made the cotton gin. Slavery was dying out. But when Eli Whitney came with the cotton gin, it boosted slavery. But the cotton gin was a good invention, dude. Yeah. It made more cotton, boosted the economy of America. Look at the internet. That can be a great example of something that boosted America's economy, boosted everything, communications. But
it almost brings up the AI debate,
Oh yeah.
And so I feel now I don't want to get too deep into that. I was more so focused on like the
criminal justice,
like the corruption.
Yeah.
I'm saying, in what way do we limit technology? In what way do we limit any types of anything? Not just technology. How do we limit anything to where it doesn't corrupt us?
Oh, okay. So in order to do that, right, it needs to be, I always bring this back to the Bible. It needs to be more God needs to be preached, Jesus Christ. But 2, education.
Yeah.
Understanding when your parents tell you don't do this, don't do that, don't look at this book. You're going to want to do it more. But if they tell you, hey, if you look at this book, dude, it's filled with a lot of depression and sadness. If you watch this video, right, you're going to be filled with a lot of shame, pornography, right? A lot of parents say, hey, don't watch porn. Don't, and kids are going to start watching porn because, like, okay, I don't care what my parents say. If you say, hey, look, porn...
It's almost like rebellion.
Yeah, but if you say porn has a very detrimental impact on your brain, it can destroy your heart. It can make you shameful. Do you really want to do that? The kid's going to be like, oh, no, I don't want to do that.
You got to talk to them. I think everything, again, brings back to the family aspect, And so I feel like having parents or having a role model or a figure to teach you, not just almost like threatening you, like, oh, don't watch this, don't do this, but more like explaining to you the consequences. Because as a child, you don't know better. And I'm not just saying the porn aspect. I'm saying anything. Like watching a show, watching something that maybe might not be good for your eyes, or like, I know how our teacher Seals was saying, like, he would watch these shows that inherently isn't bad, like the whole theme of it. But there are some shows which has, there's no modesty on women and men. There's these scenes that show, some type of sexual activity. And I feel like it's just, you get to the sense of, why am I watching this show? Like, is it worth it to watch the other aspects of it by exposing myself to this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. And I was just talking about
Now we're super off topic. But
hey, that's what we do. But I was just talking about this with someone, bro. Like, many Christians say, oh, I mean, I'm watching this. And I'm no better.
I'm victim to it.
I'm victim to it too.
Yeah.
Many Christians say, like, oh, I'm watching this show, for example. It has a lot of killing, sex, drugs, cussing, right? But, it doesn't really affect me. Anything that you do, watch, say, and intake will affect you.
Yeah, because you're exposed to it.
Exactly, and that's opening the door to many problems in your life, right? Watching scary movies. I was always told, like, watching scary movies opens the door to demonic forces, and I never believed it before.
Yeah.
But my sister was a very big scary movie watcher. When she was in high school, there was something in her room, and my aunt, right? She was very strong with the word. Came in the room, prayed, and the window just broke. Yeah. So, like, little stuff like that.
It's real. And I feel like, and luckily for me, I mean, personally, I never got into the scary movies. Or I never got...
I was a chicken.
Yeah. Which I'm kind of thankful for.
Me too.
So I like always like even when I go to the movie theater sometimes and I see these advertisements for all these like horror movies or horror shows or whatever.
Eyes,
yeah, and it's not even like cover my eyes. I'm a little bit disgusted almost.
Okay.
Of like kind of like why are we even introducing this?
Yeah.
Like why are we even like this is obviously fiction. Like no one's gonna have, and the most recent one that I saw was like some imaginary friend that you're playing a game with, and the game was that you have to do these tasks, and these tasks were like hurt yourself or commit these crimes, and like I'm not sure exactly what I'm talking about, but it was like a little teddy bear. It was a little cute teddy bear that seems harmless, and you're almost the movie producers are taking that little image of a teddy bear and making it corrupt.
And you bring this back because anything can be brought back to what we're talking about.
Yeah, any of this crime can be taken to real life, and then real life. Yeah, it's a whole cycle.
Innocence can always be corrupted, and innocence is corrupted. You look at our children, corrupted. Mm-hmm. The justice system, right, fights for justice. It's not really innocent, but it fights for justice. That can be corrupted. Yeah. So good can be corrupted if we open the door to evil, which we do many times when the judge says, "I'll just take this little $100 check, or this $100,000 check from this guy, so I won't really try him that hard. I won't give him a harsh sentence."
Yeah.
When you open the door to that, many things come with that.
Yeah. A lot of the times, I feel like the corruption that you're talking about, like this corruption 101 of giving a check to some judge, I think it happens.
100%.
I think it definitely does occur, but I don't think it's as common as people think. Again, my personal opinion is I know there's corruption, but I personally don't think the justice system is that corrupt.
So, but that's the thing, Samuel. Like you see in the movies, right? How everyone, a lot of people do think that the justice system is so corrupt, but I would argue that the little things, right, like white lies, for example, but the little things happen all the time. Mm-hmm. Judges take money, they take deals
and perjury
all the time. Like that's that's not rare, but the big things are obviously rare.
Yeah. What do you think about? I'm not sure if this is an actual movement. All I know is that I heard about this of in court. You know how you swear on the Bible?
Yes.
They're trying to remove the Bible aspect of it.
What do I think about that? Well,
I think it's horrible.
As a Christian, right?
Yeah, as a Christian, obviously, you always want to. I mean, I don't even want to say swear on the Bible, but always honor your word with what you're saying in accordance to God's will.
Yes.
But I feel like it's almost like, and I do agree with the reasoning behind it that there are not everyone in this country is Christian.
Okay.
And it means nothing to them to swear on the Bible. Mm-hmm. And so because their threat is to swear on the Bible and they don't believe in the Bible, they almost, in a sense, in their mind are like, okay, I'm free to lie. I'm free to do whatever I want.
So, yeah, look, you're right. Honestly, like, many people aren't Christian.
Yeah.
They swear on something that doesn't really mean anything to them.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, this country was founded on Christian principles. So it's going to have that Christian factor. Yeah. Swearing on the Christian Bible isn't something that has to be done by a Christian, right? It's basically a seal. And most atheists can even say that a promise means something.
It's an honoring of your word.
Exactly. It's not an honoring of, even though it is, right?
Yeah.
The country honoring God with the Bible. You're not honoring God if you don't even believe in God, right? You're honoring, but you're going to honor yourself. Everyone should have honor.
Self-respect.
Self-respect. So to lie even on that, something that means a lot to a lot of people, a book that means a lot to a lot of people, and even to lie on that, still shouldn't go unpunished, right? So like even then when you say, well, I think that, and I'm not saying you say this, but I'm saying like, I think that, that the Bible, removing the Bible is a good idea. I know what you meant by it. Like, that's not what you actually think.
Yeah.
Even then, right, that goes to show like your honor, even if you're an atheist, right? Okay. So
what do you want to swear on?
What do you want to swear? Because you got to swear on something that means something to, like something that means a lot to someone.
Yeah. What do you want to almost
like you want to swear on?
Like, I don't think sacrifice, but like, what do you want to put up, like, to honor your word, and like, and I know other religions have their own God and they have their own, the Quran.
But that's the thing. America, and many people argue this. America, was a Christian nation, right? Founded on the basis of Christianity. You look at the Mayflower Compact, whole bunch of Bible verses on there. Yeah. So when you swear to your country, when you swear to the federal government, you're going to swear, you should, to a Bible, which it was founded on.
Yeah.
So that's.
And I think this was the idea. I could be totally wrong, and I could just be, talking. I think one of the ideas was to swear on the flag.
Okay.
of America. As in, I'm going to honor this country by saying the truth.
Swearing on the flag. But what about someone who hates the country of America?
That's what I'm saying.
But you can say that for the Bible.
You
Someone
can say that
who
for the
hates
Bible.
God.
You can say that for anything. But I'm saying almost like, do you like what like? Now, obviously, nothing's ever Christian aside. But like, try to not take this from a Christian lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think this would benefit the justice system?
No.
Swearing on the flag instead of the Bible.
No, because at the end of the day, dude, look, I know it's easy, but it's hard to take God out. Because look, if you take
it's
God
impossible.
out,
God's everywhere.
But you're right. That's the thing, though. See, I mean, if you take God out, you're relying on your own morals.
Mm-hmm.
You are atheist, or you believe in another God, or you just believe in no God, right? You're relying on what you think is good and wrong.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. If there's no such thing as God, there should be no such thing as right and wrong. So to the atheist, it doesn't, or to the godless man, the atheist is, it's a very broad term. To the godless man,
Let's say lost.
to the one who believes in himself, or believes in something carnal in this world, I think that doesn't even mean anything, Samuel. He can swear on his mother. Maybe that's different though. People hold their love in anything. People worship anything.
Someone can worship their mom.
Maybe.
Not in that way, but like you know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
but I don't know if I explained it correctly though. Good and evil comes with God.
yes.
Good and evil morals come with God. We talked about
Yes.
this in our first episode. Good and evil comes with God. So when we take God out of there, the lines of good and evil is always grayed. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's vital to keep God, some form of God, inside of the United States. Mm-hmm. And I would rather it be my Lord and Savior. You know,
Just I was kind of playing like devil's advocate. I do think the Bible should stay in the justice system.
I know.
I just feel like when it comes to corruption, I feel like people say corruption in like this huge scope of, they're paying off judges, and they don't really go deeper into what this corruption really is. And I kind of just wanted to bring awareness to, the family aspect, the racism aspect, like how the family cycle continues to go over and over again. It's very, very rare that a child, now I'm not saying it's impossible because I know personally people who do this. There are people who come from these bad families and they change themselves for the better and they break that cycle.
Dude, my family.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's these cycles that are broken, but then there are also the active cycle continuing to be grown, because there's constantly, I feel like even as we speak, there are fathers leaving, there are mothers leaving, obviously not as much, but there are single parent homes, there's corruption in bad environments of school. There's always going to be something.
Yeah, dude. So I talked about this before. Everyone has a choice. When you're a young man or a young woman, you have a choice to either be like your past, to grow from your past, or to use your past as an excuse.
Exactly.
To do whatever you want.
Continuing that cycle or changing that cycle is your two options.
But you can, like you said, you can't really blame the children, but you can because everybody has a choice, and everybody will be introduced to or have a chance to be good.
Yeah.
Everyone knows good and evil, right? Like we talked about before. The more you take God out of it, though, the more those lines are grayed. But you can't take God out of this world.
Yeah.
You can't take God out of this world. You can try. You can try to burn your Bibles. But you can't take the Lord Jesus out of this world. Mm-hmm. So everyone has a choice. Maybe that choice is going to look smaller to some people than others. Mm-hmm. But that gives no excuse for a man to keep doing wrong, knowing what he's doing is bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but the more that we encourage bad, the more that we say bad is okay, the more that we start rewarding bad with, with many things, dude, like what we're doing. That's when our young kids become more susceptible to a worse future.
Yeah.
I
want to bring up one last topic, and this is after. I feel like this is even after the whole justice system happens. The classic, you go to trial, there's a ruling, you either are guilty or not, you go to jail or not, you have to pay a fine or not, whatever. What are your thoughts on people who are falsely accused of crimes, and they are found guilty, and they suffer years in jail? And this is obviously rare, but say they suffer 10, 15 years in jail, then they're finally exposed and say, they were innocent the whole time. Mm-hmm. What can you even do to compensate that?
Well, taking 15 years of someone's life isn't really compensatable,
Yeah.
money wise. But anything, pretty much. Really, you can. The federal government should at least try to compensate. That's what they do with eminent domain, right? They give someone.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I know there are some of these rare cases where they're given millions of dollars to compensate for life, but I feel like almost like, personally, 15 years of my life, you can give me $100 million. I wouldn't even.
15 years of my life, right? If I got $100 million after it, it would lessen the pain a little bit.
It would definitely lessen the pain, but you still have to come to reality with, I went through 15 years of trauma.
Exactly. 15 years of trauma.
We're speaking from the money aspect.
Yeah.
We're not speaking from we actually lost the 15 years. Whatever they experienced during those 15 years. Like that actually might have even put them into it even worse from where they actually were. And then also, another thing, should there be a penalty for people who falsely accuse of crimes?
Oh, 100%. I think that, and especially in today, a very big argument is women falsely accusing men of rape.
Yeah.
Dude, that's been happening forever. Women, it spans from our age all the way to older men. Mm-hmm. Women, I don't know why it happens. You can't really blame men or women. Right? It's just, it's different. It's people.
I would say selfishness.
Selfishness, that hatred. But when women blame men for falsely sexually harassment, false rape, false rape accusations,
anything,
they don't get persecuted at all, like prosecuted.
There's no consequence,
and it messes up the man's life, even if he's not prosecuted. Like, it's always going to be on his record.
Reputation.
His reputation is going to be destroyed. Mm-hmm. But the woman, I firmly believe that it should go both ways. If the woman is found to be lying, that should be a lie. That should be a trial in itself.
That's a lie under oath.
That's a lie. Exactly.
And people say technically perjury. Yeah, perjury is a criminal offense. But I don't feel like there's ever
There's never reprimanding.
Yeah, there's never a serious case where, I guess you could the man or woman, whoever's the one in the wrong, could countersue. But I feel like almost in a sense that's just, you're countersuing for perjury, and it's not taken seriously.
It's not taken seriously.
Yeah, and so I feel like this last part that we're talking about is needing to be actively changed.
Yes.
In my opinion, I feel like we almost open up the door to a lot more corruption by allowing false accusations in. And I'm not just saying sexual assault. I'm saying anything. There could be business transactions, there could be crimes, there could be murder, there could be anything. Any false accusations should have a consequence, in my opinion.
Yeah. So for me to close off, it's very clear that this system, like any system made by man, is imperfect.
Yeah, it's flawed.
The capitalist system, I support. Right. I would say I'm a capitalist. That's flawed.
Everything's flawed.
So yeah. I was just trying to say, like, many systems that many people hold dear to their life, Republicans. Yeah. That Republican system, it's flawed. Mm-hmm. Democrats, flawed. Everything that we put our trust in that's not God is flawed.
Everything that we create is flawed.
And when you put your trust into something that's not God, right? Like I did, dude, you are going to have a flawed life, a broken life. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even matter if you put your trust in your family, in your brother, your sister, your girlfriend, your wife. If you put your trust in anything that's not perfect, you are going to have a broken life. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have done. We put our trust in the justice system. We put our trust in money. We put our trust in ourselves. Yeah. And that's destroyed our society. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's, when it comes to the justice system, it is flawed. Like anything man-made, right? Yeah. But we need something, right? We need something to keep our morals at check, because government wouldn't be needed if men were angels, right? You heard that quote. Yeah. So, but we're not angels, bro.
No.
So what do you got? What's your closing?
I think you summed it up perfectly. I think at the end of the day, everything's corrupt. Everything's going to be flawed. The only thing not flawed is God.
Amen.
And so when we talk about anything with corruption, especially in the justice system, you can't fix it. No. You can't fully fix it. You can definitely take action to better it, but there's no fixing. There's no golden ticket to this where you can just be perfect, And so I think the topics that we covered is, one, there's cycles of family, environment, false accusations, corruption within the judges, attorneys, juries. I feel like anything can happen. There's always going to be bias, and at the end of the day, it's just what we have to live with, because America was founded on the concept that we have our own free will.
Yeah.
And so, because of that free will, we're able to express our opinions, and those opinions can be both good and bad.
I like how this is one more thing and then it's done, but I think this is really important to be said to not only you, but to people like listening, anyone who's willing to have ears and listen. Mm-hmm. You said that the corruption can't really be fixed. You're right, 100% right. Mm-hmm. Our obligation in what I'm trying to do, and I know what you're trying to do, as Christians also, is that we're not trying to 100% eradicate sin. We're trying to fight it. Any way we can, any way the Bible tells us to, right? We can't really fight sin without God.
Exactly.
But as men and as in our field, right, in my field especially, I believe I have an obligation endowed by God mm-hmm. to do whatever I have to do to fight against evil.
Yeah.
Right? And if it takes my entire life, it takes my entire life. But that's what soldiers of Christ do. Mm-hmm. I say this all the time, like people say God won't give you more than you can handle. But what is the point of the Christian if God won't give you more than you can handle, because exactly. You need to rely on Him?
I would like, and I think actively, now this is super off topic, but I think actively, or at least for most of my life, God gives me things that I can't handle.
Exactly.
And I learn from it,
And you lean on Him.
Exactly. That's the whole point of continuing to grow in your relationship.
And we will never, ever eradicate evil in this world, not until God comes, but we will fight it until we die.
Exactly.
And once you run out of those type of people, then this world's done for. But we won't until Jesus Christ comes back.
Exactly.
So